A Turkish military helicopter has crashed near Syria's northern border, where Turkey is carrying out an operation against Kurdish militias considered terrorists by Ankara. At least 2 people were killed in the incident. The Turkish president vowed the perpetrators will pay the consequences.
Our helicopter has just been downed. Of course, all this will happen. We are at war. There'll be casualties on both sides. Yesterday, we destroyed their missile depots. Surely, we'll make them pay a heavy price.
I'm now joined by artist Daniel Hawkins in the studio with more details on this. Thanks for coming in, Daniel. What do we know so far about the situation?
Well, details are still coming in, Nikki. What we do know is that the helicopter came down, according to the Kurdish fighters, near the village of Koda, that's in Syria's Afrin district in the north of the country. According to the Turkish side, according to Erdogan, the president, the helicopter was shot down in Hatay province. That's a southern province in Turkey, which borders Afrin to the west of that region. Now, we know that 2 Turkish soldiers were killed in that incident. We don't yet know the type of the helicopter, but according to the Prime Minister, Binali Yildirim, the cause of the crash is as yet unclear. We don't know if it was a technical malfunction, weather conditions, or actually brought down, so still unclear as of yet. What we do know is that this incident certainly won't help to calm the situation in the region. We also know that it's the 3rd aircraft to come down in the region in the last week to 10 days. The first one was the Russian Su-25, shot down over Idlib by rebels. The other one, the Israeli F-16 by Syrian anti-aircraft fire, and now this helicopter as well, proving that groups in the area do have the weaponry to hit targets and bring them down at a distance.
I'm sure lots of people are wondering why Turkey was on Syrian territory in the first place.
Well, exactly. The Turkish General Staff said they hit 19 targets in the region. That included shelters, ammunition depots, gun positions belonging to terrorists, an umbrella term the Turkish government often uses to describe Kurdish militias in the area. Now, it's been 3 weeks since Operation Olive Branch was launched on January the 20th, a Turkish military operation to clear the border region of terrorists, as they're described by Erdogan, and bring the Syrian land back to Syrian people. And Erdogan recently stated that once Afrin is liberated, the Turkish army will go further. Take a listen.
We're going to continue the Olive Branch operation until we achieve our goals. And then, as promised, we will clear Man Beach of terrorists. After that, we will continue our struggle up to the Iraqi border until no terrorists are left.
Our Turkish forces are a long way from reaching Idlib or any areas truly deep inside Syrian territory. But what this does mean is that Turkish forces in the long run could get bogged down in a quagmire against armed groups which ironically have been supplied by the United States.
So what's the threat that we could see things escalate further?
There's definitely a risk of escalation. US forces are present in northern Syria, in Kurdish territory, where they've been involved in those train assist equipped missions, helping Kurdish fighters against Islamic State. Now, Erdogan has said Manbij is a city that could be next, where this could bring the Turkish forces into direct conflict with those of the United States. Take a listen to how much this worries the Americans.
We would call on certainly on the Turks to not take any actions of that sort. Don't want them to engage in violence, but we want them to keep focused on ISIS.
Now, Turkey and the United States, of course, are NATO allies. They have been for decades, but in this particular conflict, they support sides which are diametrically opposed. And certainly, when the fight against ISIS may well be over, that conflict, those tensions in northern Syria, are unfortunately only at the very beginning of what could be a long and difficult, drawn-out process.
OK, thank you for those details. That's Daniel Hawkins. Well, we can now discuss this further with our guest, Ali Risk, Middle East expert and contributor with Al Monitor. Welcome to the programme. It's good to have you. Why do you think the reports on the cause of the crash are so conflicting, from being shot down to even the possibility of a technical malfunction?
Well, my own presumption, or what I believe to be the greater possibility, is that indeed it was shot down. I don't think it's very likely that it was a result of a malfunction, but I think that the Turkish officials have an interest, I believe, to try and underestimate or try to speak as little as possible about any Turkish losses in Afrin. The reason being that the operation Afrin doesn't appear to be going all that well for the Turks. They have sustained quite a lot of losses since that began. They haven't been able to make very much progress as well into Afrin. So, as I said, the operation hasn't been going very well. And now, with this latest incident regarding the helicopter, I don't think it's in Turkey's interest to disclose exactly what happened, even if it was shot down. An important point I would like to mention is the fact that this might very be likely, if the scenario was indeed that the Kurds shot down this plane, as I presume it probably was the case, we might be witnessing coordination between the Syrian government and the Kurds. The Kurds in Afrin, particularly, are considered to be more close to the Syrian government compared to the other Kurds, for example, present in Manbij. So that would allow for possible coordination between the Syrian government and these Kurdish forces in Afrin. We did hear that the Syrian government allowed a logistical supply line to be open to help the Kurds in Afrin. So I think if we take all of these facts into consideration, it might indeed be that the Kurds succeeded in carrying out this operation with logistical support from the Syrian government and some of its allies.
Either way, do you think there's a possibility that this incident could be used by Ankara as an excuse or a reason for further escalation in northern Syria?
I think that the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan already intends to escalate. So I don't think that this particular incident will, be used as a kind of justification. As we heard in his remarks, he intends to go on to Manbij and then go on elsewhere, reaching up to the Iraqi border. But I think that he will face some very, very huge, monumental challenges, because even in Afrin, as I said, the Turks are encountering such difficulty. Manbij will be a different story. That could threaten a potential showdown with the US ally. I don't think Turkey is ready for that. So I think that the Turks are in a somewhat difficult position, but Erdogan has climbed this ladder of escalation, and I think the problem he faces is who can bring him down, allow him to withdraw at the same time saving face. It's quite a big predicament, I think, which he faces.
Ali Risk, Middle East expert and contributor with Al Monitor, thank you for your time.